Welcome. Each week I go through the data published on the coronavirus and do a statistical analysis to see if I can see what is going on. This report covers the week ending the 28th of June 2020, and I've subtitled it Out of Control. The main headlines for this week are that we have 10 million confirmed cases of Covid19 worldwide. That's probably fairly well under the real number. There are 500,000 recorded deaths associated with Covid-19. Again, probably a great underestimate. The hotspots are pretty much the same as they were last week. The United States, but this has now shifted to the south and western states, Brazil, Russia, and India. I think it's time to get serious about this disease. All the positive talk and prayers and such like are not doing anything to stem this flow of this disease. In fact, I think they're counterproductive. We have to go back to basics. Wear a mask, practice social distancing, only go out when you absolutely must, and we will need to probably close down a bunch of facilities that were opened up too early in order to stem the flow of this disease. So let's take a look at where the problem areas are. Now, my apologies, first of all, that this map color code has changed yet again. But you can clearly see that the Americas, both South and North America, are in deep trouble. Areas that have darkened over the last few weeks are India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Turkey, Russia as well, and South Africa. The areas that have done very well are New Zealand, Australia, South Korea, China, and Japan, i.e. the places that have put in the harshest measures to control the spread of this disease have been the most effective, of course, at stopping it. So here's our usual graph. The red line here shows the number of infections as a function of time, and the little star there shows that at the current time we're now over 10 million confirmed cases. One thing to note about this graph is that the rate of infection is increasing. If we take the slope of the graph from a few months ago, you can see that this dashed line shows that the solid curve is in fact bent to the left, which means that the number of cases is accelerating. If you project that rate forward, you see that the two curves continue to diverge. In the background, the bar chart shows where these new cases are coming from, and most of them are in the green shade, which is from the Americas, which, as I said, is our new hotspot. Well, how have various countries managed to deal with this problem? You remember Spain was one of the worst affected countries of all. It had a major peak back in the beginning of April, but it's now got its number of cases down to a few cases per day. Italy, similarly, was a country in deep trouble, and it's now got its rate even below that of Spain. This is because both of them put fairly strict measures in place to prevent the spread of the disease and opened up very, very slowly. By contrast, Brazil is still on the upswing of its outbreak. It hasn't started to turn the corner as yet at all. And that's because basically its government has not taken this situation very seriously. Compare that with the results from the United States. That's this dashed curve here. And you can see that the United States rate peaked later than they did in Europe. But it never really came down very much. It only went down from about 30,000 a day down to 20,000 a day. And now it's turning back up again as we opened up more and more places around the country. And the particular areas that are having problems are the south and west. We can have a look at those US figures a bit more closely and look at the infection rates per day. You can see back in April we had an average of about 30,000 cases per day. Now that slowly died away to about 20,000 a day by the beginning of June, but since then it's taken a sharp rise, and we are now at over 45,000 cases per day, which is about 50% higher than we were at the peak of the pandemic early on in this process. We can look at where the main problem areas are on this map. You can see that California, the rate is still rising, and that's concerning because that's the largest population state in the country. Texas similarly, but look at the rate of rise of the Texas curve. It's very, very concerning. And then we have Florida, which shows a very similar sort of trend to Texas. We have just seen the problems in 3 of the biggest states in the United States, but some of the smaller states are also having problems. Here, Louisiana, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Ohio are all showing signs of an accelerating infection rate. If we're ever going to defeat this virus without having to resort to a vaccine which may be months or years away, we're going to have to do some very fundamental things, which we all know what they are. Wear a mask. It's not a political statement. It's common social decency to your friends and neighbors, and it's safety for yourself. Wash your hands. Try not to touch your face. And don't go out unless you actually have to. We've seen so far that it's not easy to knock this thing down, but other countries have managed to do so by taking those very measures. And if they can do it, we can do it. So until next time, stay safe and goodbye.